if anybody knows me, and know in a lot of cases I always challenge myself to be different, to always do different things differently, to always be a better individual, to always treat a person like I would want to be treated. I remember from my beginning when I used to be growing up hustling and over there in Riviera Beach and doing my thing, about all the things that I learned over there on J Avenue and S Avenue and the Imperial and 33rd and downtown. All of the things that I had been taught while I was out there hustling. And I was just sitting back relaxing, just thinking about it. And a lot of the things that went through my mind was I was never taught to be compassionate. I was never taught to treat people kindly for the most part. I was never taught to show forgiveness, to make amends. A lot of the things that I've learned to become now in these days is some of the things after I went through my struggle, after I went through my incarceration. But I was like, why does my teaching have to be so different from me being incarcerated to when I was out here in society in the free world? And me and my thinking and just, thinking differently, I know that society places different teachings on us. Am I blaming society? No, I'm not blaming society because I already know that what we are is what we are. When I say what we are is what we are, I mean our environment dictates our behaviors, and we are what we see. We aspire what we actually see to become or seek to become. When I think about the words of compassionate, I do a lot of different acts of compassion. And when I played the real back, I was somewhat like that when I grew up. A lot of the things people would take advantage of people in their addiction, I wouldn't be a part of that. I just wouldn't. I'm not saying I'm no better, no different than nobody, because all of us had the same teaching. It's just that I wasn't on that. So to play the real back, and I think about it, just like if I was to tell you all my teachers were wrong, all my teachers, for the most part, weren't wrong. I come from a good family. I had a lot of good people who I was surrounded with, even during my hustling days. A lot of individuals that I hustled with, they was good people. If they was ask me today, say, man, Chauncey, was so and so good people? I'll be like, yeah, he was straight, man. He was tight like that. He was good people. Because first and foremost, I was never the type to just talk about people anyway. And my mom used to tell me all the time, if you ain't got nothing good to say about nobody, just keep it to yourself. But the thing that I wanted to speak about is being compassionate. And I really learned to be compassionate, just like I laugh at myself sometimes. I say, dang, since I got older, I'm getting real, real soft. And now that I think about it, no, I'm not getting soft. I'm just becoming wiser. I'm becoming more intelligent. I'm doing the things that's going to make me function in society, even though a lot of times the odds are stacked up against me. I open the doors for women. I open the doors for elderly. I jump on my car and help somebody push car, even if I got a tie in and I'm dressed up in some designer clothing and get sweaty, just helping people. Because me, what I call it, or what I term it, I call it stacking my blessings. And with me making a lot of bad decisions and poor choices early on in my life, I need as many blessings as possible. So when I think about being compassionate, the things that coincide with being compassionate is being able to make amends to people. Even though you may feel like you're right, but when you become a conscious person and you become a knowledgeable person, or you become a person that is striving to do better with their life, one thing about your conscience always play on you. It always nags on you. I'm gonna give it to you from a standpoint of when I was hustling. And everybody has that inner God. They call it that God sense, or they call it the inner God inside of you and everything. Even when you're doing wrong, people have that in them. And I played a part back when we was doing something wrong, something that we ain't had no business doing, and we was running from troll. And we hadn't got away and everything, and the homie was like, man, Chauncey, come this way. But my mind, or my God sense, was telling me, Chauncey run the other way. But I'm listening to my homie, and I laugh at it these days. I listen to my homie. So I ran the direction that he ran. When we got to that direction, jumped the wall over there in Wedgewood and everything. As soon as we jumped the wall in Wedgewood, man, the police had everything surrounded. To make a long story short, I went to jail. I play those stories back in my mind, and I'm able to laugh at it now, even though I went to jail. It's because it formulates thoughts in my mind, and it makes me think differently, and makes me think that, okay, even though I'm on the stride to always do better, I'm doing some positive movements, I'm doing things to help the youth, I'm doing things to help the homeless, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, all things positive, like before I went to prison, when I was doing all things negative. But the reason I'm showing you the comparison is because even when I was doing wrong, we still got that God sense in us. I'm doing right, and now I still got the God sense in me. But now when you compare it, I'm going to show you the equivocal difference about it. When I was doing wrong, even though I had that God sense in me, I had consequences of my actions. I had consequences of my thinking. I had consequences of anything that I would do in a negative light. Now, I don't have to worry about any of that. I don't have to look over my shoulder. I don't got to tote no pistol. I don't got to do anything. Just like I was sliding when I was doing negative in a nice car and dressing nice and doing those things, I'm still doing the things on a positive aspect. And now I know that it can only get better because I have no consequences to deal with. So I was just thinking about just being compassionate. That is a really, really beautiful word. And the reason I say it's such an ideal and beautiful word, because a lot of us as people, we are not as compassionate as we should be to one another. How do you know that? Because I look at a lot of examples of other people of color and things of that nature. And I'm not downplaying anything, because I'm a black man first and foremost. I'm just telling you about how our ideals are. And the reason I know about our ideals and the things, the way we think and things of that nature, I look at it from a historical standpoint. Books that I've read when I was in prison, the Willie Lynch syndrome, the ISIS paper, things that lets you know of the empirical background and the ancestors and our ancestral line and things of that nature, of where we actually come from, that we're not mindful of as a people today. And that's why we so downtrodden in this moment that we're in now. But when I think about being compassionate, I think about something other than myself. The reason I'm compassionate, it ain't got nothing to do with Chauncey. It has a small snippet to do with me, but for the overall goal, the overall reason for me doing what I do, it ain't got nothing to do with me. For me, it's for my God. I do what I do for my God. I do what I do to, like I said early on in this format, that I do what I do, and I call it stacking my blessings, because everybody needs those blessings. Everybody needs to know that they got something coming. And I tell people who are in society who've never lived the street life, I tell them the same thing, because I'm a street dude, and now I'm going toward the boardroom. I'm praying that God put me in the boardroom and put me on an entrepreneur level and things at that level. The story is still the same. Everybody has their story. Everybody has the ideals that they've went through something, and their story may be a little bit more different than your story, which in all actuality it is. But one thing you gotta only remember, you can only live through your story, or you may live through your story. You can only tell your story. So like I said, when I think about compassion, man, I just do it because I want to be here. I want to say, when I'm gone, I want somebody to say, you know what, man, Chauncey made a difference. Chauncey, people saluted me when I was out there doing wrong, and people still salute me when I'm out there doing right. I want all of that to be balanced out. I want all of that to say that I was here, and when I was here, I made a difference. A lot of us these days is only concerned about us. Like they say, we're only concerned about our loved ones, our family. How do you know that? Because a lot of times, until an actual act hit home, that person ain't worried about nothing. That person talk bad about the next person. That person don't show no love to the next person. Don't show no compassion to the next person. They they informed about what happened, and they was saying, okay, they was cool with this person, but they don't send a card, they don't go offer a hug, and it ain't about nothing about monetary. It ain't even about that. It's just showing that you're actually showing compassion, that you're actually showing caring and concern. Me, I pray every night and every morning. And when I always tell y'all that I pray and I do this and I do that, I don't look at myself no differently than a person who don't pray. I call God God, but I don't look at a person who's a roster who call him Jah, or a person who is a Yahweh, or whatever they choose to call their God. I don't look at myself no differently than they look at themselves. I don't look at them saying, okay, well, since they choose to call God by a different name, that they don't call him by my name, that we not the same, because we all the same. Because I don't get caught up in the terminology. I get caught up in the belief that somebody believes in something greater than they self, and whom they choose to call that man and whom they identify with, that's on them. Because a lot of times I have problems dealing with my own life. I can't worry about my life and somebody else's life. I still got my own trials. I still got my own fights. I still got my own battles. I still got my own scars. It's a lot of things I went through, and a lot of times people won't know what I went through unless I actually choose to share that with them. And I work in a very professional environment. Right now, I work for an environment, and I help homeless people get housing. I'm a case manager. How you go from being a dope boy to going to work and being a case manager? You know why? Because I show compassion. I show caring and concern, so they look at me as something other than a person who done did almost 19 years in prison. When I go to work every day and I show my colleagues and coworkers, they looking at me dressed up with a tie and everything, and I tell them I did 19 years in prison, they looking at me like I'm just making up some frivolous stuff. And I tell them all the time, listen, one thing about me is two things I don't play about. I don't play about my life. I don't play about my money. That's why a lot of times when I was out there doing wrong, I don't do business with my loved ones, because I know it's gonna always be a conflict, and I can't show them consequences like I would show the next person consequences. But the reason I'm thinking about these words that I'm thinking about is because I'm telling y'all these stories not to glamorize them. Anything that I say from the stuff that I had, things that I've been through, is not to make me seem like I'm no better than you. It's not to glamorize, it's to share my story and bring a conscious, it's like they say in Islam, it's to spark something, to make you think differently, to make you talk differently. Because a lot of times when I went on the road to change, I didn't see myself changing. I didn't know I was changing like that. My homeboys, when I was in prison, they say, man, Chauncey getting crazy. Man, that time I made Chauncey crazy. And I'm looking like, no, y'all went crazy. Listen, I done did all this time in prison. I got homeboys in here with life sentences. I'm not trying to die in prison, because I know if I get in trouble again, I know what the outcome going to be. So I don't want to continue to talk about it. I just want us to show compassion towards people who you genuinely love, who you say you care about. Don't just be a person who just say something out your mouth because it's the end thing to do. Mean it with your heart. Show it with your actions. And that's just like on one topic of discussion later on, I'm gonna talk about relationships. And I used to look at myself. I don't even think really that I was relationship material. And sometimes I question myself, as really, am I still relationship material? You know, but one thing I know about me, I'm honest. And I'm honest enough to admit that to myself, so I can admit that to you. Because I know, being a conscious and a knowledgeable person, first of all, I don't owe nobody nothing. Only person I owe is me. So if I can't admit that to myself, that all I know is that I owe myself, and that I love myself. And if I tell y'all I love y'all, but I'm not showing y'all that I love myself by treating myself kindly and doing the things would make you look at me like I'm on that, what I'm saying I'm doing, you know you ain't got nothing coming. But I'm gonna go ahead and share something with you that I wrote today, and that has to deal with the word of compassion. Because like I say, it's a very ideal word. It's a word that, you know, a lot of us take for granted. And I just wrote this while I was sitting out here. It says, to show compassion is to be aware that there is a greater cause than yourself. It overrides vanity as it places someone else before you. To me, it shows that humility must first be present. And in those acts of kindness, there overrides peace. For ignorance is dismantled in a step-by-step process. In teaching and dealing with one another with compassion, one has to look from within. Why? Because there must first be a question mark. And after the question mark, there must be a yearning for answers. For with new answers, there comes new principles. Therefore, an individual is at their beginning. For without a new foundation, there shall always be old morals. I want you to listen to that. I want you to listen to the last words that I wrote just a few minutes ago. Therefore, an individual is at their beginning. For without a new foundation, there shall always be old morals. Y'all already know what it is, man. I'm just speaking from the heart. And I love y'all, man. You know, anybody who know me, they gonna tell you what's up with Chauncey. I love y'all. And y'all just show compassion toward one another. Y'all already know what it is.